And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Every Point's a Winner. And we're going for our fourth week in a row where we've got quite a few substantial two-leg and three-leg parlays. So please join us, stay with us. Hopefully we can have some big bickies at the end of the weekend. Tonight we start off with the Parramatta and the Dolphins match. I don't know what the boys in the Monster Cup are tipping at this stage, but I'm just going from my pure instinct. I just spent the last 2.5 to 3 hours watching all, pretty much most of the replays, particularly the extended highlights, and I really enjoyed some of the replays there. Individual and team performance, absolute brilliant over that magic round, and we definitely had some magic. And apart from the Bronson Cherry disallowed try from the knock-on from Taff that cost us an extra 200 smackaroonies, that was the only disappointing thing, and me not having one of my favourite players of 2025, Luke Metcalf, as the third leg of the banker standout with the two-leg and three-leg parlay. Not having him instead of Jake Clifford, who threw an intercept straight into Pompey's hands, that hurt. But anyway, he's been very, very good to us, Luke Metcalf. He got us one double in that game, but not having him in the third selection up as high as what I thought has killed me, especially the game he had. He has been fantastic in 2025, and I have tipped him and Fletcher Sharp as the rookies of the year to do exceptionally well, even if they don't win Dally M. I think they've got great futures. And the funny thing I noticed when I was watching that replay of the 3 tries from Fletcher Sharp with Knights' win over South Sydney was the similarity to a very young Brett Kenny. I'm not saying he's the new Brett Kenny. He's got an amazing football brain like Brett Kenny, the way he sees the field, a little bit like an Andrew Johns. He finds the gaps very quickly when he's got the speed. He's just as quick as Brett Kenny, obviously not as skillful. He's still developing. He's a young kid. And happy 21st birthday to you. Wow, wasn't that fantastic the way you went over for 3 tries on your birthday? There's not much more that could climax that in an NRL state of mind. Fantastic. We know there are things that can climax that. However, we're keeping it all NRL here on Every Point's a Winner. So let's get on with it after that funny little spurt, so to speak, and get straight into this game. We need to look at the team list. Parramatta tonight is $1.69 and Dolphins 2.17. Geez, they left their run late against a very, very strong Roosters pack last week. I did notice halfway through the game they sort of gave up the chase a bit, and then they realised they weren't out of it. But there was a couple of try-saving tackles that saved the Roosters, and Dolphins just ran out of gas. And anyway, we went through all those. I think we've lost a little bit of power here. We went through all those statistics anyway, and but I just noticed the Dolphins, they need to have a full 80-minute concentration level. So Parramatta's got a fairly good chance here. Let's have a look at the team list, and that's why they're pretty skinny. Dylan Brown's been playing out of his skin. He's finally come into his own since Mitchell Moses is in there, taking a lot of pressure off him, of course. And he had a blinder again last week, apart from throwing a wayward pass to Addo-Carr last week for Parramatta. Mitchell Moses did. But it's definitely freed up Dylan Brown on a big level. I thought they could have kept Dylan Walker on there for a little bit longer. But anyway, the coach is still fiddling and farting around with a lot of the combinations of the Parramatta side. He's not expecting miracles this year, but he's certainly done well, and they've certainly gelled particularly well since Moses got back. But let's have a look at the team lists. And Iangi had a big game. He made that breakaway last week. Josh Adokar had a scorcher. Jack Bostock was our big letdown in our tips. And hopefully he can turn it around in this game. But this is at Combank Stadium tonight at 7:50. And just looking at the in and outs, it looks like Jeremy Marshall-King's out. Kurt Donohoe's back, so that's a good help. And Felice Kafusi for the Dolphins, a big help. Matt Dury and Tony Mataili is back for the Eels. So not too much of changes in the ins and outs. So let's go to the TAB and see if we can strike up some value here. I really am leaning towards Parramatta with the home ground advantage tonight. And I think they're finally getting it together. And Adokar's playing out of his skin. And so is Moses and Brown. So if their forwards can lay a good platform here, there's no reason why they can't beat the Dolphins, who are still trying to find the full 80-minute game. They need to find it. So let's have a look here. And looking at the try scorers, they're running 14th on the table. The Dolphins with 3 wins and 6 losses, and Parramatta with 2 wins and 6 losses. But they've had the bye as well, the Dolphins. So let's go last year in round 7. It was Dolphins 44 over a hapless Parramatta 16. I can't really remember that match, to be honest with you, last year, but it looked like it was an absolute thrashing to the Dolphins, which I don't think it'll happen, not at Combank Stadium this time. So let's go to the first try scorers and what have you. Coming up very skinny after his double last week is Josh Adokar. The ham is still pretty short at $1.85. That's a little bit, 20 cents more value there. Bailey Simonson's very skinny there for a guy that only goes over once every 2 or 3 games. Bostock 210. That's not. I can't back him after last week, and he'll probably go over like a lot of them do. Let's open up the page for the whole lot of them here. Moses, I've got a feeling he might do well today. Let's keep him back in the pack just for a section here. So it's 325. Katoni Katoga, 375 for Parramatta. Finifuaki is 4-1. He hasn't scored forever and a day. Dylan Walker hasn't either. Cody Nikorima. God, he's been really, since I've let him go, he scored 2 times in the last 3 matches. And he's like a little whippet. Those little miniature greyhounds that get through gaps close to the line when you have a tiring defence line. He's very lethal. But, you've got to take him with a grain of salt because you don't know when he's going to stand up. Ray Stoney's another one. Josh Kerr, they're all 10-1 here, which they should be, especially the guys that aren't getting the full 80 minutes on the field. Luca Moretti, 5-1, good value, but they've got no form here. You really want to have a couple of bankers with a bit of form. Connelly Lemuelu, since I've had him, I've missed. I didn't have him 3 games ago. He went over. 4 games ago, he went over, and 5. Went for 4 games when I had him in a row to score, and he just missed out. And he let me down again last week. He might turn it around here, but I'm favouring Parramatta. I really am. I think you wouldn't be a mug to say Dylan Brown will score again. But I don't really want to stand out Brown or Moses as my banker. I want to have him possibly as a second, third selection. Jake Everello, it's time for him to score because he scores every second match. He did a couple of try scorers try savers last week, a couple of real mad bootlace tackles against East, which could have ended up in an absolute walloping instead of just 10 points. Herbie Farnworth. Now, he's one you could, and he's always theirs for your value at round about the 260 or 5 to 2. Let's stand Herbie Farnworth out as a banker here. Let's put in as our second selection Jake Averillo. Even though I'm not tipping the Dolphins to win this game, I think it'll be an extremely tight match, and it could go either way, 1 to 12. So I think you could cover yourself there, 1 to 12. But I'd lean more towards having the 1 to 12 if you want to narrow your expenditure with the margins down to just the Parramatta 1 to 12. If they won 13 plus, then I'd be really disappointed in the Dolphins having a chance to make the 8 this year. And even now, they've still got to win a lot of games. Bailey Simonson, although I've had him the last couple of games, can't have him here. Jermaine Osako might go over once every 5 games. Iongi's similar, but let's chuck in the 2 top players, the top halves for Parramatta. Chuck in Dylan Brown for third, and for fourth leg, Mitchell Moses. And let's stick with Corneli Lemuelu for the 5th leg. And outside of that, I really want to lean back towards Parramatta, and you wouldn't be a mug to say that Josh Adokar will get you your 6th and 5th leg and mix them up like I do. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th selections. I start just going 1 with 2, 2 with 3, 3 with 4, 4 with 1, 4 with 3. So anyway, if you mix them up anyway, not just have your bankers are your main bets, yes. But if the banker lets us down, you need to have those 2nd and 3rd multiples. And that's how we've been so successful after 3 weeks straight now. So anyway, you've heard it there from me. So let's move to the next match before we get laboured down too much here. It's only 5 hours away, that game. Tomorrow, it is Newcastle at 6 o'clock at the old, what do you call it, Marathon Stadium. I don't know what they like to call it now. Let's have a look at the ins and outs for that game. So we go back a page here. Team list and the ins and outs. Cole McCarthy's coming back for Newcastle with Arthur. Matthew Arthur, Paul Bryan, some of these names I don't really know, this young boys. Tyson Gamble had an extra week off with that broken nose. He's back. A little bit hot and cold. Hopefully he doesn't disturb the pattern. The way they played last week was the old Knights of yesteryear. They really got it together. And I think they will here as well. Titans are going to play well as well. They've got Alan Fitzgibbon back. They've also got Jaden Campbell back. So they're really going to have to tighten that defence, Newcastle here. Jojo Jafita's back after a little bit of a virus last week, and Sean Mullany. So outs for them is Tom Weaver. I think he had some sort of HIA, so the mandatory week off. So let's go back here and look at the TAB, see if we can come up with some value here. Last time they met, it was a bad start for Newcastle. Their run of 4 or 5 losses straight up at Gold Coast, 26-6. I can remember the game. We just never really got into it, and the handling errors were horrendous. We had a lot of injuries, and for those 4 or 5 weeks in a row that Newcastle lost, we had a forward pack that resembled maybe 2 of the possible 6 players in the forwards. So it just didn't resemble a forward pack. And it was very, very difficult. Adam O'Brien had a lot of chopping and changing to do. But now we're starting to play like the Knights. So here I think it's not going to be a 26-6 defeat. I'm going to tip Newcastle here, 1 to 12 and 13 plus. I really hope they can perform in front of and for their own sake, they need to keep on winning now. Magic Round, I think, has started them off on the right leg after playing well their first 2 matches. James Schiller, $1.80 runs the market here as favourite with Greg Marju, who usually plays good at Marathon, but the last time he played, he tried to forget. I think he dropped the ball on the first tackle maybe 4 or 5 times, which destroyed any chance of them winning. Bradman Best, it was back to his best last week, but Kalen Ponga had a blitzkrieg game, and so did Fletcher Sharp, the new Brett Kenny. As I said, you mad Parramatta Psycho fans that love Brett Kenny, I'm not saying at this stage he's as good as Brett Kenny. He looks like him. You look at some of the old shots, apart from the curly hair, the hair's different, but you can nearly morph his face onto Brett Kenny. With a little moustache, he just got the same features, and I love the way he plays. He reminds me of Brett Kenny. Not 100%, maybe 85%. And I've had a big rap on him for a long time, no matter what people think, if he's out of position with. I think that's a perfect position for him because he can see the play quickly and he can work just off the edge of the ruck there, and he's electrically quick, as we know. He may be the new, off the mark, the new Steve Morris of NRL. Good luck trying to stop him, and he's got a nice little jink, a nice little sidestep there. But Alan Fitzgibbon comes up at good value there on the wing for Gold Coast at 225. Khan Pereira did that mad drop ball where he ran nearly, 90 metres to score last week. So he's back into form at $1.90. Kalen Ponga 215. He's usually distributing instead of scoring himself. Fletcher Sharp has come in a little bit skinnier now. He scores nearly every game. 220. Tony Francis 225. We open up the page for the rest of the try scorers. Why do I sense that Dane Gagai might return to the try scoring capability here? He's at 290, which is probably a little bit skinnier than what I'd want for him. Brimson let me down last week. He had a fair kicking game, but I thought he honestly would have went over. But Beau Fermor has never let me down. And to stand him out at 325, that is ludicrous. Let's stand Beau Fermor out as our banker here, even though we're tipping Newcastle to win the match. I just think he'll be going for 4 games straight, 4 tries straight. Beau Fermor here, and then we're going to spin it around to, let's chuck in the man of the moment, the 21-year-old who has done so well, Fletcher Sharp. Let's chuck him in. Fletcher Sharp for the second leg. For the third leg, I'm swinging back to Gold Coast. I'm going to say Jojo Jafita here. Jojo Jafita. For the fourth leg, Bradman Best will play out of his skin here, I believe, and we'll go over twice. Now, for the fifth leg, I'm tossing up between Dane Gagai at 290, and I'm also tossing up between him and, I just sense Jaden Campbell might go over. So you can have them as a fifth and sixth leg. Dylan Lucas, I may do a little backup bet as a seventh leg into my bankers or into my top 3, Dylan Lucas, because he's now third run back from the spell and he usually scores every second match. He's returned from that horror hamstring injury and he's just slowly getting into his game here. I think he's going to have an outstanding game here. I would chuck him in for even fifth. So there you go. You've got the players there to work with. And then Jaden Campbell, you can throw in or out if you like. But at least you're going to get pretty good value there. Let's go on to the next match. So, as I said, Newcastle there to dominate Gold Coast and to seek revenge at home. The next game for tomorrow night is Souths and Brisbane. This is an interesting match. Let's go back a page and have a quick look at the ins and outs. I really focused on that game where Brisbane's come out of the gates like a mad golden slipper sprinter and then just got totally dominated. A few things went wrong in the game. Reynolds kicked out a few times on the full and it just didn't gel for them, did it? And Penrith of old turned up. So let's go back here and have a look at the ins and outs with the South game team list. And the ins and outs, crikey, South's got a lot of outs. Of course, Mama Sellers is out and Thomas Fletcher. In is Jacob Host. Jamie Humphries is a big plus for South Sydney here. Joshua Schuster is back in. Latrell Mitchell. Now, there's a big asset. You would think, some would think differently, depending on what position they're playing him as well. Is he going to start? Surely he's not going to start at 5'8" there. Let's have a look at the ins for Broncos. It looks like Huida. DeLuise Huida is back. Fletcher Baker and Joshua Kapapani and Tapau, Martin Tapau, or Topau, is back. So not too much change to the Broncos here. Can you really see South turning it around after that demolition against Newcastle? They got demoralised. Is he going to make that much of a difference, Latrell Mitchell? Let's see what position they've put him in, because where are we here? Because we've looked at the ins and outs. Just going back in the team list here. Oh, they have got him at fullback. Okay. I've got him back in his supposedly favourite position. He's not bad on the wing or the centre either. But yeah, I think that's where he's going to dominate the game from. Selwyn Cobbo is the fullback here, and it looks like Jesse Arthurs takes his position again. Ben Hunt played a lot better last week, even though they were totally dominated by Penrith. Tallis Duncan did a lot of great work in defence. Jai Gray is the interchange here with Corey Pokes for Brisbane. Corey Jensen, a couple of good defenders there. Geez, they've got a good bench. There's no excuse here for Broncos. They've got a great bench. And Brendan Piakura. David Mawali, he's usually pretty solid. Sean Kepi, they've got some pretty good benches too. But the injury toll to their wingers, it really has me worried here for the South Rabbitohs. Now, this is at, it looks like it's at Accor Stadium. Rightio. So, Brisbane are the ones travelling, but let's go to the odds and see if we can. I'm going to put my faith back in Brisbane after last week. I can't see South causing a boil over here, unless Mitchell has one of his diamond games of yesteryear. It's just at the moment I can't see them dominating, and the bench is too strong for Broncos. I don't think they would have been too happy being bathed or bathed by a Penrith side that has kept on getting smashed in the media, and they brought their best game against their big foes. All right, so let's go to the TAB here and go into that game. South and Brisbane. South's coming up at 350 head-to-head, and Newcastle shorter than Kingston Town at $1.30 there. Fifth on the ladder on a class factor there. It is 5 wins to the Broncos and 4 to South. They're running 13th. 5 losses to South, 4 to Broncos. So they're just out of the picture there. The last time they met was a major upset in round 15. It could have been when Broncos started getting a lot of injuries, but yes, they haven't got Reece Walsh back, but I just think they're going to really put on a good game here. So 22-12, South caused a major upset last year in round 15. Let's go to the first, anytime try scorer. First try scorers are just too difficult. You've got, 26-1 to choose a winner. and even then, providing they're on the pitch, even then the odds are so far against you. And then, unlike the anytime try score where you've got possibly 80 minutes for your selection to go over, you've done your money cold if you haven't been lucky at 26-1, and you don't get value. You don't really get value at 26-1 still, unless you're having one of the forwards that aren't regulation try scorers. Okay, so let's go on to here with Dean Mariner is $1.70. He runs up the favouritism here with Jesse Arthurs. Arthurs didn't go over last time because they barely got the ball. Brisbane Broncos, $1.70, not bad there. We might come back to him. Katoni Staggs hasn't scored in forever and a day. He's been in and out of form. Xavier Willison, you got to take him on trust. I think he may have a good chance here to go over. Campbell Graham hasn't scored forever and a day with all his horrific injuries and still getting his act together. Billy Walters is probably good value there at $4.25. I don't know whether he's going to start him straight away. It's hard to say. They got such a good bench. They could bring him on like a Jacob Little. But anyway, let's go to some value here. Payne hasn't scored since scoring against the Dolphins, and he ran that crazy line and palmed off of half the friggin' side. It was unbelievable. But he hasn't scored since then. They've really wrapped him up and marked him closely. Jamie Humphrey's pretty good value for South at $4, but we don't really want to start with South, I believe. Jai Gray, he's come off the bench, so now you're going to get value with Jai Gray at $3.10. And where are they going to slot him anyway? That's the question. Shibasaki hasn't scored for a couple of games yet. $2.25. He scored 2 of his last 5. And Jesse Arthurs, don't want to stand out the bank at odds on. My criteria is to give you value. And we're mainly going 2 legs. And if we're lucky enough to have 2 legs getting them multiple times and then snagging a couple of 3-leggers, because that's where the big value is. But I'd learned so much looking at all my bets last year, and they're all fairly small. But so many I missed where I only got 2 of the 3 legs. And I thought, this year I'm going to keep on getting money back into the kitty for the following weeks, just having 2 legs. And then if you're lucky enough to get the 3 legs out of your 8 games, if you play 5 or 6 and you're really strong about 5 or 6 games of the 8, if you really play the 8, you want to be able to be getting 2 or 3 really good collects, and then you can spread it out and minimalise some of your bets you don't like on some of the lower percentage games, the ones you're not quite sure about. But if you're really strong about it, of course, you can have a little bit more money on those games, and that's what I've been doing, and we've been very successful here at EPAW. Every point's a winner. So Billy Walters, I don't really want to stand him out because I don't know whether he's going to get the full complement of time on the field. And looking at Xavier Willison, you don't want to stand him out either. God, I keep on leaning back to Jesse Arthurs, but it's against our criteria here. I will not take a banker as $1.70. I'll take him as a 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th leg just to cover our bases. Nothing's jumping out at me here. Adam Reynolds. Except Adam Reynolds. Let's stand out Adam Reynolds at 4-1. That's a pretty good value banker. Yes, he's not your prolific try scorer, but I have a feeling because he missed last week and he's going to have a little bit more room to move here, I think he's going to cause a lot of damage. Let's chuck in Jamie Humphreys, who's come back and he's usually pretty good at scoring as the 2nd leg, Jamie Humphreys. And I've got a feeling Lewis Dodd could be a rank outsider here at $4.75 to go over, but Payne keeps on jumping out at me. the big fella. Let's chuck in Payne Haas at 5.50 for our third leg. Payne Haas. Patrick Carrigan hasn't scored for, I don't know, for how many games. What's that, 9, 10 games? He hasn't scored, I think, for about 12 or 13 games. Billy Walters will be our fourth leg there. And our fifth leg, let's chuck in that Lewis Dodd, fifth leg. And if you want to link up some of your guys to get some of your money back there, you can chuck in Jesse Arthurs or Dean Mariner, both $1.70, but it's going to cut your value in half. So there you go. Brisbane, I think, will win that 13 plus. But I'd be willing to stand them out 13 plus, but 1 to 12 in case South and Latrell Mitchell lift. But I wouldn't be tipping South in that game. If I'm wrong, well, Brisbane have got a lot of homework to do if they're going to be a chance in this competition after being flaunted by a great Penrith side that's trying to stay alive themselves. So let's get on to the Saturday matches. It's Canberra and Bulldogs here. What we might do is go to the ins and outs, see if there's any significant changes. Canberra got up by golden slipper whisker in golden point time last week. It was an amazing game, one of the best games of the Magic round. Let's have a look at the team list here. This is the Saturday match. Yes, it is. I think Jacob Preston has got 4 weeks because he's judiciary failed. That's the news I'm getting. Ins for Canberra is Danny Levi. I do like Danny Levi. Waitiri gets in as well. Pasari Solo gets in, and Trey Mooney, one of my players that I don't mind. I don't mind him at all, like Savali. So Blake Wilson is in also. Drew Hutchison, can give or take with him. Drew Hutch, good, strong worker though. Luke Smith and Matt Burton is in. So that's pretty good after a suspension, I believe. So let's go and look at some of the positions here. Max King is off the 8. Oh, Jacob Preston, why is he in the team list here? I thought he got 4 weeks. Let's see if the Tabs got him in. I honestly heard the news and it said he's facing 4 weeks suspension. You can't get like a jockey. Sometimes they let him ride and then serve out the suspensions. I don't think you can do that. This could be a mistake from the NRL website here. Let's go to the tab and see if he's in the market anyway. Canberra's come up very skinny here because it is in Canberra at $1.74. And Bulldogs at 2.10. Bulldogs leading the ladder clearly with 16 points. And so this is first versus second at this early stage of round 10. 14 points there, but they've played 9 times. Canterbury's only played 8. So Canberra have only had the 2 losses, and Canterbury being served stake through the heart by the Broncos a couple of weeks ago. The last time they played was in round 22 of 24, 22-18. It was Canterbury over the Raiders. $1.85 at the line with -1.5, and Bulldogs with 1.5, 1.95. Oh, even that's not bad value, is it? But this is a tough game. This is a very, very tough game. Let's look and see if we can find some value down there. Bulldogs and Canberra. Let's see. I don't think Jacob Preston is going to be in. Surely he's not going to be in the market here. And NRL have made a mistake there. I don't think he's in the market here. No, I definitely can't see him anyway. This early stage. Anyway, Connor Tracy had a pretty good game last week. He's a consistent player. And Hudson Young hasn't gone over for 2 of his last games, but he's scored about 3 straight weeks. So did Sebastian Chris, and we collected off every one of them. Jacob Kyrgios is back as well, so his second week back. Let's see how he goes. Montoya hasn't scored for a couple of games. Bronson Siri with a disallowed try last week. We don't need to ramble on about it, but geez, it was a hurtful thing when it was looked at by the bunker and then disallowed. Very hurtful. It was line ball. In most games at rugby league, that would have been allowed, but not in NRL. They'll find something that big to disallow a try. Okay, Kickout has not gone over forever and a day, 350. I don't really want to rely on people like that or players like that. He's a solid player. But, and Kurt Mann, we had him as a rank outsider last week. He didn't get much of a chance to score, although he played solid. This game, I'm really tossing up between Bulldogs and Canberra here. I really want to tip the Bulldogs, but they're going to have to bring their A game. Crichton is playing out of his skin. All right, I'm going to stand out Stephen Crichton here. He hasn't scored for 5 or 6 games, but geez, the way he played last week was something out of this world. I think he's finally standing up and saying, I'm here, I'm still here, and bring on State of Origin. Let's stand out Steve Crichton as our banker. 310. Yes, it's risky because he was a prolific try scorer. He always has been, especially last year. But this year he's been doing so much work because of the players missing. Let's put him in as the banker at 310. You're not going to get much better value than that as your first start banker into the rest of your multis. Put in Bronson Xerri as the regulation try scorer. He should have had 3 in a row from last week if you added them up, and it's 260 there. Matty Nicholson from Canberra, he's been playing out of his skin. Let's chuck him in as a 3rd leg. 4th leg, Hudson Young, 275. And I'm going to have 2 other ones for 5th here. Sebastian Chris, I'm tossing up between him and Tamale. Tamale is the ultimate try scorer at $1.80 there. Even Savage is good value if you want to take the even money there. Carraz, every time I don't have him, he scores. Every time I do have him, he doesn't score. So he's another one. You could have 3 of those players, the shorter price ones, as your 5th leg with Sebastian Chris. So there you go. That's what I think there. And I think the Bulldogs 1-12 to beat Canberra. I would also have as a backup Canberra 1-12. I couldn't see the Bulldogs being whacked by 13 plus unless Canberra had the best game they've ever had and they don't have that patch in the middle where they go a little bit quiet and then they bring on the artillery when they're in the backside of the match. They can't really do that against the Bulldogs if the Bulldogs jump out the gates in front. So it's a tough match. I wouldn't laugh at you if you tipped any of the sides there, but unless you tip Canberra 13 plus, I'd just be going, well, you're brave, but you're not stupid because it could happen. But it's probably the most unlikely. I'd definitely go both sides 1-12 there. The next match on the Saturday is St George and Warriors. God, I've been tossing up over the last 24 hours about this one. Warriors are running 3rd, just off the pace behind Bulldogs and Canberra. St George 10th. Should have they lost that match against the hungry West Tigers? I don't think they should have lost it. It's another game. Didn't they lose by 2 field goals? They should have really been in the top 8, clearly, this year. Just is it? Did they run out of cats? Did they smash mirrors onto the way to the ground? and they're still missing. Let's have a look here, make sure that they haven't got, I think Tuapoloto's out again. Like, I've been waiting for him to come back because that could make the difference. Let's have a look here at the team lists and have a look at the ins and outs. In is Blake Laurie for St George. Fainu Latu is back. Ilias is back after being dropped to reserve grade. He needs to stand up here. I think he's a great defender, but he just hasn't been gelling with the other players. Pasifiki Tonga is in for St George. Faitaya Mariner is also back. Raymond Faitaya Mariner. Ins for the Warriors here is Dallin Watini Lesniak. Wow, he's been on sideline for so long. Now, this could make a very, very interesting lineup here. Tuivasa is back. Jacob Laban is back. I don't mind him. Now, this is the linchpin player who I think is one of their best players that's ever sported their green, blue, and white and red colours. And it's the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and he's a prolific try scorer. Tanner Boyd, the ex-Gold Coast boy, is also in, and Stower Smith is in. Out is Edward Cossey. He had a big game last week, and Rocco Berry. I do like Rocco Berry. It's a shame he's not getting more gameplay. Is this the game where St George stand up? It is down in Wollongong, is it not? Is it not? Yes, Wynn Stadium, Wollongong. So they usually play pretty good down here, but I think Warriors are really going to stand up here. They're going to have to handle a lot of penalties, and a lot of defence is going to be needed. But they're still missing the player that I think makes the difference to this side. And it's, although Valentine Holmes is now playing out of his skin, what an individual effort that was last week. Outstanding. You really have to watch that try a few times to see how good it was. Especially the dummy that was like a little inside flick dummy, and they all fell for it. He's still got the magic, and I really like him. And his goal kicking has been outstanding of late. He sort of turned it around when he first came to Saints. He couldn't kick a goal for the first two games. So Kurt Capewell's work with Luke Metcalf, they've got this little 1-2 combination going, and it's been outstanding. And they've used it over the last 2 or 3 games, and they've scored every time from it. I think he's the most outstanding player of the competition, Luke Metcalf. And although our co-commentator here that's missing today and is just getting into his new job down the South Coast, best of luck, Scotty, with your tips this week. They need to be a hell of a lot better than last week. But you took quite a few risks, and you had a 5-point lead, which is now reduced down to 1 and 2 from the rear of the field. So let's have a look here. Kyle Flanagan played as best as he could last week in a losing side, and so did Gutho. He's going to need to stand up here. I'm sorry, but I'm still tipping the Warriors here. As much as I think St George could bounce back, I don't have any confidence in them. I'm sorry, guys. Dylan Egan, the big young kid, is playing outstanding. And so is his opposition number, Leka Halasima. I think he was unlucky to score last week as we had him, and he just missed out a couple of times. Their forwards are all been outstanding, the Warriors. Jackson Ford, Wade Egan, Mitchell Barnett leading from the front as captain, Nia Corey. They're an outstanding side. This side could go all the way. Adam Pompey, I believe they could. Yes, they're not going to get the home ground advantage here, and they're going to have to handle a shitload of penalties. Who's the referee here? Let's have a look. Liam Kennedy. Yeah, I think he doesn't let the game flow, Liam Kennedy. Hopefully we're wrong and we get a free-flowing match. But great to see. It's always sirens in this place. We're Lesniak is back, and that's such a big thing. Watini, Zeleny, Lesniak. So I think he'll do really well here. Harris Tavita's been playing so well, but Metcalf is an outstanding player. So let's go to the TAB here. And I couldn't work out when I was doing the review who knocked that ball on over the try line, which really cost St George the game mentally. It got to them when they ended up being nearly 18 points behind at half time instead of being level. It was Jaden Sewer, I think, that dropped the ball over the line. So I just couldn't think of his name, whether it was one of the. Well, I know it was a big fella. Come off his knee. It was just so unfortunate. But anyway, that's football for you. It can be turned on a dime. Canberra have done it. The incredible get out of jail boys for the last 3 or 4 games. Anyway, let's split over here to our TAB. And the last time they played, it was St George 30 at Wynn Stadium, defeating Warriors 12. They didn't. I remember that match. They just didn't stand up, and everything went right for St George. And it truly has to here. They can't afford to play like they did last week. They're going to have to step up out of their skins to win this game against a very informed Warriors. Roger Tuivasa Sheck's come up pretty skinny here because they know he's a prolific try scorer. So let's go back here. This keeps on changing on me, this page. And it looks like Zatini Lesniak. Zatini Zelezniak is $1.80. Oh, it just keeps on moving. I don't know why. Keeps on refreshing. Tuapiki 2-1. God, he's a good little outstanding player for the Warriors. Valentine Holmes 275. Good value. I'm going to have a lot of New Zealand players here because I'm tipping them to win 1-12 at this stage. I'd suggest to have them solely at 1-12. I'd really can't see a 13 plus, but if you've got extra money to spin, and give yourself value because to win down there 13 plus against St George is going to give you massive margins value, but you have to make sure you've got the other winners when you're picking the margins. So, but I would lean more towards St George 1-12, but I'd probably just have it solo with Warriors 1-12 there. And as a second suggestion, if I had the money back up, Warriors 13 plus just to get some value. Here, Luke Metcalf is 275. Not 100% sure whether he'll score here, but it would not surprise me. Let's stand. I don't usually do this. I do not usually do this, but I'm going 5 cents under my criteria, which is I at least usually start with even money. So we're going $1.95 here, which is so unlike the system that we use here. But it's just too tempting for me. Tuivasa Sheck at $1.95 is our banker. Our second one, we're going to go for Lika Halasima at 3.10, the very fast young forward for Warriors. Then we're chucking in Luke Metcalf for third. Our fourth banker, I'm leaning towards Adam Pompey here at 3.50. And our fifth banker, I'm going St George and Warriors here for the fifth banker. I'm going to go we have to go Valentine Holmes and Jacob Little for St George, depending if he gets the run. But everyone's onto his little burrowing now. He only got that try last week because the other players weren't aware of it. They should have been, and no one can really stop it when he goes in really short like that. But anyway, so you can have either of those ones, but you've got 4 bankers up the front for New Zealand. Let's move on to the next match. I wouldn't be upset if you chucked in Gutho or anyone else for value there for St George, and good luck to you. You're going to need it, but I can't see them bouncing back there even in Wollongong. unless the penalties make such a difference or there's a call there that costs the Warriors the game. I can't see them losing that game. Let's go to the next one, and then we'll move to the last couple of matches on the Sunday. On the Saturday night at 7:35, it's North Queensland versus Penrith. Wow! Now this is hard to pick. Last time they played in round 5, it was Warriors. Not Warriors. Beg my pardon. North Queensland Cowboys 22. Can't get Warriors off my mind. 18 to Penrith. So Penrith lost there. That was a surprise. But that was round 5. I think they had quite a few injuries at that stage, Penrith. Let's go back a page and have a look at the ins and outs, see if there's any significant change there to either side with the NRL website. Okay, there it is there. Cowboys versus Penrith, team list and ins and outs. So in for Cowboys is Kai O'Donnell, Carrie Lawton, Semi Valame, Thomas Duffy, and Thomas McKaylee. In for Penrith is Dane Laurie, Brian Oh, now there's an asset. Mitch Kenny is also back. So their defence is going to be fairly solid here. I don't know whether the Cowboys can win this game. I think they'll give it a good shake. Out is Maverick Guy, and Ruben Cotter, I think, served a suspension using his elbow, using his shoulder on someone's head last week in a 3-man tackle. Mitch Kenny, he's such a great defender. He's usually the top tackler with Teo or To'o, with Isaiah Yeo. I give To'o. It sounds like I'm speaking Maori. But no, Brian To'o's back, so and Mitch Kenny, and Eisenhuth's back. Got a good opinion of Eisenhuth, and Brad Schneider's in as well. So it's a very, very solid outfit for Panthers. Cleary played one of his best games he's ever done, and scored a similar try against Brisbane Broncos like he did last week. Someone sent me a message. I won't be able to answer that until I finish this program, which takes sheer priority. First and try scorers here. First and second try scorers. Brian To'o leads the market at $1.80. Murray Talangi has scored every match virtually since North Queensland started putting it together. $1.85. Paul Alamoli, $1.85. Casey McLean, $1.85. Dane Laurie, Isaac Targo, $2.50. He scored last week. Jackson Purdue, $2.60. Geez, I'd like to have him as a banker again, but I'm not 100% here for the North Queensland Cowboys, although it is up there, isn't it? So just looking, it's at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in North Townsville. So Scott Drinkwater, I did really observe how good the comeback was from the Cowboys, and they just missed at the end there. It was a great, great comeback. And apart from that intercept to Pompey, thrown by Jake Clifford. God, this is a hard game, but I think that there's significant changes to the side, especially with To'o being back. They're going to get out of a lot of trouble here. So if we go back a page here to our try scorers, Dylan Edwards has come up at 225. That could be good value. Do I stand out Jackson Purdue like I have every other match? And he's scored for us the last 4 matches. Why go off a good thing? Let's chuck him in. Even though I'm tipping Penrith here to win, let's chuck in Jackson Purdue as the banker, and then we'll spin most of our selections to Penrith there. So Jackson Purdue at 260. That's just a bit over 5-2. Murray Talangi at $1.85, a little bit skinny. Alamonte hasn't gone over for a couple of games yet, for a while. Robert Darby. Very, very interesting here. Let's go a little bit wider. Nathan Cleary at 350. I don't think he'll score 2 weeks in a row, will he? Let's put in Brian To'o. I know he's very short, but if we get him into a 3-legger, we'll be able to help ourselves out. I don't know what's going on around here. It sounds like New York with all the sirens. It's just amazing. What day is it? It's Thursday, so a lot of madness out there on the road at the moment. Brian To'o at $1.80 is our second leg. For our third leg, we're going a little bit wider. Dylan Edwards is at 225. For our fourth leg, I'm going to chuck in a surprise one here. Zach Laybutt at 325 for our fourth leg from North Queensland. I'd like to think that Dearden could go over at 350, and he did so well for us last week, or Jake Clifford at 4-1. But I think you've got to steer it back towards Penrith here. And although this is not the greatest of value, the way I'm playing these 2-leg parlays here, I'm just looking for a little bit wider of the mark here. Moses Leota hasn't scored for over a day. Really can't see anything else jumping out at me for Penrith. So we forced to put in Liam Martin, who hasn't scored for the last 4 or 5 matches. Let's chuck him in as that 5th leg. Liam Martin. He's been good to us in the past, but we haven't even played him ourselves because Penrith have been so out of form. So there's a few boulders there for your backside legs. And let's move on to the next match before we get stuck on that game there. I think Penrith 1-12, narrowly over North Queensland. Yes, it is up there. And I think North Queensland could easily cause a big boil over here. It's that game where it's the repeat game, isn't it? Where Scotty tipped them at head-to-head when they were $3, $3.75 or 4-1. They might have been 4-1 or 9-2. But anyway, we haven't heard from his selections yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he tipped North Queensland to make a comeback there, but I just like the fact they've got those vital players back in defence and attack and running it out of your trouble zone with Brian To'o. Mitch Kenny's a big, big asset for Penrith. Okay, so there you go. Penrith 1-12. And if I had a weapon pulled on me, I'd say, okay, give me one more selection and I'd have North Queensland also at 1-12 in case they can hold against Penrith at home. Penrith are on a run now to try and make the 8. And they started pretty well last week, what they did to the Broncos. Now, there you go. So let's move on to the Sunday matches. We've only got 2 matches to cover left here before we wrap the program up and give you our crystal ball selection. Looks like Melbourne here are running 4th. They're on 12 points, narrowly in front of West Tigers, who are running 8th. Have reached the 8 at 4.50 head-to-head here. $1.20 Melbourne, and this is surely at Amy Park in Melbourne. Let me just double check. Sometimes they move them out to the country, these games. Where are we here? Well, NRL's refreshing. Let's go to... It's playing up here. Just give me a second, people. All right, we're on the right page now. Melbourne and West Tigers. It is at... Yeah, Amy Park. There you go. So they're really going to be hard to beat here. Depending on the weather, West Tigers aren't too bad in the wet. But I can't see them continuing on their great streak here. I can't see them doing that. Very important to have a look at the teams, though. Most important because is Harry still out? He's been such a bad loss for them, the Storm. Lazarus Vialepu is back. We don't think he got much of a run last week. Solomona, if he did at all, I don't remember hearing him on the radio. Kane Bradley is back, and Russell Smith is back. Vialepu and the big asset there, Big Nelson is back. In for Tigers is Heath Mason, Josh Folletti, Solomon Fartape is a very good player, and Tristan Hope is back as well. So no Harry. This is tough, isn't it, with no Harry? Like, really, I think the class is going to lift them across the line here. I really do. I wouldn't laugh at you. If you tipped West Tigers even down there, I would not laugh at you. I think Melbourne are going to need the complete game here, where they're going to have to play solid for the 80 minutes, not take their foot off the accelerator, because Tigers could come back. They're a side that are so hungry this year. And Lockie Galvin can just open up any side with that Brett Kenny football brain of his. And that's why he's so gifted and talented. It's so tall. I saw the boys last week at Magic Round get a photo with him, and he's a lot taller than what he looks on TV. But let's go across here. So still, I think that asset player they're missing for Storm is Harry. So I would not laugh at you if you said I'm tipping West Tigers head-to-head at 450. But, I'm not willing to take that risk. We're just going to stick with our 2-leg and 3-leg parlays here. So let's go to the first-time try scorer. And then we only got the one Cronulla and Manly match to go. And then we've wrapped it up for today. Okay, let's get on to the favourite here is Faialaga. Didn't he have a scorcher of a game last week? $1.55 Faialaga for Melbourne is the favourite there. Xavier Coates also for Melbourne, $1.55. Kane Bradley, $1.60. Ryan Pappenhausen, $1.65. He's coming even skinnier after scoring for the last 3 matches. Grant Anderson, $2.20. He's probably good value there. He seems to always be in the right place at the right time. And Charlie Staines is one of those players too. He's pretty skinny at $2.20. Jareen Buller, $2.75. Don't really want to, because I'm tipping Melbourne 1-12 here. I don't really want to go too wide and start with West Tigers. Let's start with. We're not going to start with odds on. We're getting back to our criteria for this game, although we broke it for the Tuivasa Sheik selection. We had to. It's only 5 cents. Okay, looking at Alex Seaforth, went over about 3 or 4 games ago, 550. He's good. He's a 100% player. The way he tries his heart out. Sione Fainu hasn't gone over for a while. This is just updating here. Alec McDonald hasn't gone over for a while. Josh King. There's players you don't really want to stand out here. You Tokomano. They've been showing good defence, West Tigers, this year. I've got to give them that. I'd love to stand out Dream Buller like we did last week, but I'm not going to go that wide. Let's stand out here. Most of the players that I want to stand out are all odds on. Let's go back to Elise Katoa. Yes, he let us down the last match, but he didn't let the team down. He tried his heart out. 230, Elise Katoa, we're going to use him as the banker. He's the only value there for Melbourne because there are a lot of them are odds on, especially those faster players. So Elise Katoa at 230, he's always there about at the ruck, waiting for that loose ball from Munster from the bomb, and he's I like him. Nick Meaney as our second selection here. I think he's one of those players that can be at the right place at the right time. 260, so you're getting a little bit more value there. Then let's swing it back to Jareem Buller at 275 for our third leg. I've got a feeling Cam Munster's going to go over here. Don't ask me why. I just think he's going to do a cheeky thing around the ruck there at 325. Here's our fourth leg. And our fifth leg, Adam Dewey. I'm going to put this in for Scotty because I know he's a big Adam Dewey fan. And I'm going to split him with my bet, Samuel at Fainu at 425. They're both 425 there. let's get on to the next match. Lockie Galvin's good value at 4.75 if you think he can break the Melbourne's defence. And they have got a few vulnerabilities in the middle of the park. So hopefully some of those bigger West Tigers forwards can do their job. And the last match before we wrap it up here today, and I'm just going to have a sip of a fine lime water. Always wet the whistle. It's good for the voice. Okay, Cronulla is. Oh, don't tell me that this is at Pines Park again. I think it is. Let me just have a look where this game is being held at. Excuse me as I clear my throat. The limes really hit the edge of the lining of the throat. This is at 4 Pines Park. They're going to get a lot of decisions go their way, and I think they've got a few players back. Let's have a look at the team list, ins and outs. I was looking at this before we did a bit of study, or for the last 3 hours before we presented this program. Jake Trbojevic, of course, is back. Jake Arthur is back. Jason Saab, he was the one that really stuck out to me. Jason Saab is back. Clayton Faialolo is back. And Ayatasi James is back. For ins for the Cronulla Sharks is Chris Vaiawela, Hoapeki Papuru, Jaden Beryl, pretty good player, Jaden Beryl, Tuki Hai Tapuha, and Niwai Puru. So the two Puru brothers are back for Cronulla. Out is Talakai. Yeah, he's one of my favourite forwards, Talakai. Okay, and also Chon Kum Tong is out for Manly. Chen Kum Tong. Okay. All right, let's go to this game. They've got such hatred for each other from that incredible, was it the first drawn grand final ever? Or was it the second one? I know there was the replay. The Cronulla got so smashed in the 11-all scoreline. It was 11-all? I think it was. And then when they came back the following Saturday, Manly just rode roughshod over them. And let's go to the TAB here. Yeah, they don't like each other. They do not like each other. The last time they met, Cronulla fell over the line, but it was at Optus Stadium, 24-18. So Cronulla got it all together last week. They certainly did. They played a lot better, like the Cronulla that we know they are. Although Scotty would call them pretenders. At his own peril here, but he'll probably be tipping Manly at 4 Pines Park. They are hard to beat there. 5 wins for Cronulla, 4 wins to Manly. So Cronulla running 6th, Manly running 7th, and they've both lost 4 games each. So this is fairly even, this game. I got a feeling Cronulla are going to really stand up here. They need to be. If they're serious going forward in this competition, they really need to stand up and whack Manly here. But you've still got Dale Cherry Evans playing outstandingly. And, yeah, they had champions have that off game. Trbojevic is back, and that makes such a difference, even though he's like a crystal chandelier, as Scotty says. You just don't know when it's going to break from the ceiling. The big, heavy one from Phantom of the Opera, if you remember that incredible movie. So Jason Saab leads the favouritism here at $1.80. Samuel Stone Street at $1.85. Well, he's been going over 3 times out of the last 4 matches. William Kennedy, God, I had him running for so much money last week in that Cronulla game. And he set up 2 beautiful tries, one with a kick and one with an offload, and I just wanted him to score himself. One of them he could have scored himself had he thrown a dummy and done a little jink that he does. So that really hurt. But Carl Ero, I don't think I'm going to switch off him here to score. He's a great banker to have. Let's chuck him in at 275. He got our money straight away last week. And once Britton Nakora went over, that was it. It was money in the bank after 30 minutes. So Britain Nakora, we're going to have the same. Why switch off the same Quinella? I've been to the racetrack 3 or 4 times where the same dogs or the same horses have been racing each other in similar class week after week, and they run the same Quinella. I'm not going to switch off it. So Britain Nakora for your second leg there. Got a feeling Luke Brooks is going to go over here. Don't ask me why. I just got a feeling Luke Brooks is going to do some little intercept or some crazy little thing and throw a dummy and go over and have the big Cronulla forwards struggling here. So let's chuck him in as the third leg, Luke Brooks. I'm going to also lean towards Travojevic here or Saab. Tom Travojevic is even money there. So let's put him in as the fourth leg. And, God, do I switch off William Kennedy after he let us down for that incredible... We would have got 3 treble parlays up. The 3-leg parlay. I think it set us back maybe $150. But, you can't expect them all to go over. It's hard enough picking the winner of a rugby league game, let alone the try scorers, as Pete Connors once famously quote of the Opera House there. Cameron McGuinness scores once every blue moon, and last week it was a blue moon. I can't have him as my fifth leg. Do we switch out for Dale Cherry Evans? Let's switch out for Dale Cherry Evans here because Manly are going to definitely stand up as well at 4.25. So you got the 2 champion try scorers there. If I was going to have a sixth leg, if someone was twisting my arm behind my back, I'd say please chuck in Ben Travojevic because he's got so many of my nice little 2-leg parlays up and he's always 4-1. That's if you're tipping Manly. But I'm gonna take a risk here. And even though they're hot and cold Cronulla, I think the real Cronulla is going to stand up here. Geez, I'm just looking at Jason Saab too. He's another one that you can chuck in as if you don't like my fifth and fourth legs, chuck in Saab and Stone Street, but it's going to cut your value into half. It's up to you. But we've already got 2 champions there, Travojevic and Dale Cherry Evans to score for Manly. But looking at that is that. And I think you could go 1-12 for margins either side. I can't see Manly running away with it unless Cronulla lose a couple of vital players on a midfield injury or something, or mid-game injury. I can't see Manly winning this 13+. I could definitely have, as I said, if you tip Manly 1-12 or Cronulla 1-12, I'd say, well, yeah, even money chance here. I could even see extra time coming on here, a little bit like I predicted last week in the Canberra game, that it may go to extra time. This could go to extra time, this game. It's so even. I'm going to put my neck out and say Cronulla narrowly by a golden slip of whisker, a developed print as they used to have in the old days. And when I was a kid at Randwick, watching the developed print come down, and they go down this wire, and it'd go to there was an adjudicator or whatever come in this black limousine or car. It looked like a limousine, and it'd pick it up and it'd take the photo to the judge, and he'd get a line, a straight line or a ruler, and he'd draw it down there, and then you could see a photo of it later on. They didn't have all that many semaphore boards in those days, but that was so exciting. And it'd say second developed print, second photo goes down. Now with all the digital technology, they can work out in a split second who's won a race. But anyway, I think this will be a second or third developed print. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I please beg you to stay with us and see if we can win for the 4th week in a row. Stay with us. Have faith. Your starting bank, if you can't put the $100 like we do for your 8 games, over 8 games, we may only play 5 or 6 of them, especially if we're not getting those the Thursday, the Friday, and the early Saturday matches up. We may reduce it down to 5 of our favourite games where there's value. But it's up to you. And if we've got those first Thursday, Friday games and one of the Saturday, play all 8 of them and go for it and get a nice collect like we have for the last 3 weeks. Please subscribe, comment, like. Even if you don't like it, I'll get back to you and ask you to come on the program if you don't like it, and see how you go yourself. But we do like a little bit of content, and if you got any ideas or any some stories you want to tell, that like that bottle that our next door neighbour gave us here, the West Magpies bottle of beer that was like 30 years old or something, back from the 70s, maybe 50 years old. I've still got it in the cupboard, and I take my hat off to Mr. Pat, who is one of the craziest West Tigers fans. Good luck to you, mate. They're going to need luck this week, but that's not impossible for your West Tigers to win against Melbourne this week, even though it's down there at Amy Park, because their biggest player missing is Harry Grant. He's one of my favourite players in the game. All right, and the crystal ball is, all right, and this is for the future, that Fletcher Sharp is going to be as good as Brett Kenny for Newcastle. Fletcher Sharp for Newcastle. There he is there. He looks like Brett Kenny. He plays like Brett Kenny a little bit. He still hasn't developed into a Brett Kenny, but that is my crystal ball. Looking at that, I'm telling you, he is the player of the future. And the player that you can back in Dally M contention now, as far as I'm concerned, is Luke Metcalf. There's your crystal ball for the week. Thanks very much for joining us. Like, subscribe. Please subscribe. We've got about another 19 subscribers now added to our list of 300 plus. And we usually have some special guests here. Scotty's just started a new job down there in the South Coast after having issues with Mannheim. Maybe he should have done some strip shows for what were those strippers called? The man, I can't remember what they were called. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just a joke. But Scotty, well done, mate, with your new job. And hopefully you tip all your winners this week. And hopefully it's even Stevens, because there's only 1 point separating, 2 points separating first and last in our Monster Cup tipping competition with Scotty, who's one of our co-hosts here, and the legend of the Sydney Opera House and the phantom of the Opera House, Peter Connors. But all you guys have a lovely weekend. I've got one of those horrible strata meetings to go to tonight. I might have to take my chewing gum and just put my sunnies on and fall asleep up the back. And when there's something important, someone can wake me up. But anyway, all the best for the NRL. May everyone stay safe as far as the players are concerned, and may the best sides win. For now, I'm Axel Phillips. Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you here at Every Point's a Winner in the review program after we've won all the money from round 10 of the NRL. Bye for now.